Hey guys, so this video is going to be all about finding equations of lines in point-slope form. So for our learning targets we have, I can write equations of lines in point-slope form, and I can change equations from point-slope form into slope-intercept form. So we're going to teach you how to go back and forth between these forms. So the first thing we want to do is figure out what exactly is point-slope form. And so it's a form of writing an equation for a line that comes from the slope formula. So we've got y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So this is point slope form. y1 and x1 just come from a point that's on the line, and then m is the slope of the line, just like it is in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. It's the same m. And we can find this form, this point slope form, just by using the slope formula. So we have our slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, change in y over change in x. And if we take this and we multiply both sides by x2 minus x1, so x2 minus x1 times m equals our slope formula here, times x2 minus x1. So we multiply by that on both sides. Well, the x2 minus x1s over here, both of these, they cancel each other out. So what we're left with is x2 minus x1 times m equals y2 minus y1. And if we just use the symmetric property and switch these around, and we also get rid of these 2's, the subscripts here, we are left with point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so now that we know what we're dealing with, let's figure out how to use it. So let's go ahead and write an equation of the line that goes through the points -3, 5 and 2, 8. And we're going to use point slope form. So here's graphically what we're looking at, -3, 5 and 2, 8, and we want the line that goes through those points. So let's put up our point slope form to remind us all of what it is. And the first thing I'm going to do is just plug in a point for y1 and x1. And it doesn't matter which of these 2 points over here you use. I'm going to use 2, 8. So I'm going to plug in 2 for x and 8 for y. So we get y minus 8 equals m times x minus 2. Okay. So then all that's left to do is to find the slope, m. And to do that, we're just going to use our slope formula with finding the slope between these 2 points. So we start by subtracting our y values on top, so 8 minus 5. And then on the bottom, we subtract our x values. So we have 2 minus -3 on the bottom. And 8 minus 5 on the top gives us 3. And 2 minus -3, we have to be a little bit careful with our signs here. So minus a negative is just like adding a positive. So 2 minus -3 is really like 2 plus 3. So that gives us 5 on the bottom. So our slope is 3/5. So we just have to take this and plug it in for m. And when we do that, we get y minus 8 equals 3/5 times x minus 2. And we're all done. That is point slope form. And it's perfectly fine to leave it in this form, y minus 8 equals 3/5 times x minus 2. That is the equation of the line. But sometimes we'll want to switch this into slope-intercept form because slope-intercept form is easier to graph from. So I'm going to show you guys how we can do that, and we're just going to kind of continue with this example here. So we're going to take the same equation, the same line, through -3, 5 and 2, 8, and we're going to change it into slope-intercept form. So here's our point slope form, what it looks like. And here's our slope-intercept form, just a reminder for us, y equals mx plus b. So we're going to go from this to this. And this is our equation that we had from the previous page, our point slope form for this line. So basically all we're really doing is we're solving for y. We want it to get to say y equals. And so our first step in doing that is going to take this 3/5 and we're going to distribute it to the x and to the -2. And when we do that, we'll get y minus 8 equals 3/5 x minus 6/5. So 3/5 times -2 is minus 6/5. And if you remember when we're multiplying with fractions, -2 is like -2 over 1. And we just multiply straight across. So we do 3 times -2 and 5 times 1. So we get minus 6/5, or you can just do that in your calculator. And now from here, we're just going to continue solving to get y by itself. So we want to add 8 to both sides to get rid of this minus 8 here. And remember, when we add with fractions, we do need to have a common denominator. Or you can just use your calculator. But if we are doing it with a common denominator, we want to have this be over 5. And so we have to multiply the top and the bottom by 5. So to do that, when we do that, we get 40/5 instead of just 8. So we have y equals positive 3/5 x minus 6/5 plus 40/5. And then when we're adding these fractions, we just add straight across. -6 plus 40 gives us plus 34. So when we clean this up and combine like terms, we end up with y equals 3/5 x plus 34/5. And that is our slope-intercept form. We're all done. Okay. So let's go ahead and try another one. So this time we're going to write the equation of the line through the points -1, 5 and 2, -1. So before you keep watching, go ahead and try it yourself first. See if you can find the answer. And then go ahead and continue watching, and we will go through this together as well. So if you don't get an answer or if you're confused, just keep watching, and we will go through this one. Okay, so let's check our answer here. We've got our point slope form reminding us all of this. We have y1 and x1. Those are what we want to plug in first. And again, you can use either of these 2 points. It's okay. I'm going to use 2, -1. So I'm going to plug in 2 for x and -1 for y. So we get y minus -1 equals m times x minus 2. And then again, we just have to solve for m, the slope. So on the top, we subtract our y value. So we have -1 minus 5. And on the bottom, we subtract our y value. So we have 2 minus -1. So on the top, -1 minus 5 gives us -6. And on the bottom, 2 minus -1, well, that's just like saying 2 plus 1. And 2 plus 1 is 3. So we get -6 over 3, which reduces to -2. So now all we have to do is plug that -2 in for m. So we get y minus -1, or you could put down y plus 1, equals -2 times x minus 2. And we're all done. We've got our point slope form. But if we wanted to switch it from point slope to slope intercept, we will do that as well. So let's go ahead and change it through. Go ahead and try it yourself first, and then watch again to see if you got it. So we've got our point slope form, reminding us of our slope intercept form as well. And the formula that we had from the last page, the equation, we had y minus -1 equals -2 times x minus 2. And we are changing that into y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we distribute our -2. We subtract 1 from both sides. And we get our equation y equals -2x plus 3. All right, so hopefully this helped you with finding equations in point slope form. Thanks for watching.